Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for iPad today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
Coming up on this episode of iPad Today, Gina Trapani, co-host of This Week in Google, Android enthusiast, and iPad lover, joins us to talk about what's on her home screen, plus Foodspotting, Notesy, iOS 6 rumors, and LastPass Wallet. All that and more on iPad Today. This episode of iPad Today is brought to you by Gotomeeting with HD Faces by Citrix. Takes a webcam and a click to turn your online meeting into high-def video conferencing. Meet with colleagues anywhere in the world, even from an iPad. Try it free for 30 days. Visit Gotomeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use our promo code iPad. And by Ford, giving customers the power of choice with a full line of electric and hybrid electric vehicles. Learn more about Ford electric vehicle technologies at Ford.com/technology. And by Slingbox, which just turned your iPad into a television. With the new iPad app from Slingbox, you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you go. Check it out at slingbox.com. Did it wrong. Hello, everybody, and welcome to iPad Today. Things might seem a little bizarro world today because not only is Leo Laporte not here, but I am joined by Gina Trapani.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so
welcome.
excited to be here. Thank you.
I have wanted, Gina, you know this already, but for anyone who's like, wait a second, isn't Gina like the Android expert, co-host of This Week in Google? How does this work? I have wanted you to be on iPad Today ever since I knew that you had gotten an iPad because you were very vocal about it on the internet, and I know that you really like your iPad, Android or not.
I do. I love my iPad. I mean, I'm a relatively late adopter relative to the people who do what we do. I didn't get an iPad until the iPad 2 came out. And I was coming at it basically after using Android primarily for years. So I was kind of like a stranger in a strange land. There were a lot of iOS conventions I didn't know. And it was kind of weird, but I instantly fell in love. I mean, I think anyone who loves technology has to love the iPad. There are so many great things about it. Some things that I wasn't used to, but I do love it. And I haven't gotten the new iPad yet, but I'm trying to avoid going into the Apple Store and like looking at it in person because I feel like I'll go home into my iPad 2 and just cry. Yeah,
that's that whole Retina thing. It's when you. I find that when I made the move to the new iPad, I was like, yeah, it looks good, but not a huge difference. But then when I went back to the iPad 2, it was like, I don't have my glasses on or something. Everything looks like I'm underwater. So
that's what everyone has said. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, had you played around with enough Android tablets to feel like there was something missing? I mean, why did you decide to get the iPad? Is it just because you wanted some experience on iOS?
Well, I had an iPod Touch that I played around with, to test things because obviously I want to, have a sense of what was available on the platform. But I finally just dove in and got the iPad. I wanted one when the first iPad came out, but I'm generally like, if this isn't going to be part of my everyday workflow, I'm not going to dive in and buy the first version. So I was like, okay, let me wait till 2.0 when there are lots of apps that are optimized for the big screen and until I'm convinced that this is going to be a device that I like love and use, right? Because I don't want to just collect devices and let them, sit around and collect dust. I want something that I'm really going to use. So by the time the iPad came along, I really wanted a tablet. I was sold on the idea that like I had a use for a tablet. I wanted a tablet. And at that time, and I think this still holds true today, the iPad is just the best tablet on the market. I mean, I love Android, but I've just yet to see, I've had the Motorola Zoom. I got the Galaxy Tab, the 10.1-inch from Google I/O. And, I get it. I love Android. I think it's making steps, but there just isn't an Android tablet on the market right now that's as good as the iPad right now. So that's what kind of made me dive in. It's like, I know I want a tablet. This is the best one on the market. Also, I just wanted to get more conversant on the platform because I was going to do some development for it as well.
Right. Well, that's obviously that's an interesting take on it. It's not only just that you want to know a little bit more about iOS, but you actually wanted to build things that were going to look good and work well iOS, which we'll get to in a minute. But I wanted to, since it's very rare that we have a guest on who not only comes from sort of the Android side of things, but is actually well-versed in how apps are made. What is on Gina's home screen? Now, obviously, we're not going to talk about every single app you have on your home page of your iPad, but it's pretty safe to say that usually things that get onto the first page are the apps that you end up using the most, whether they're there on the home page or on the home screen rather, or in some sort of a folder. So I thought we'd go through a few of your very favorites and see if it's something we've covered before or maybe it's new to us.
Sure, cool. I mean, I've got a lot of staples that are kind of the boring, usual suspects. I tried to pick a few the apps for this show that I'm really enjoying that maybe are a little unusual at least. My first app pick is Notesy, which is actually relatively expensive for an iOS app. It's $4.99, but it's awesome. It's this beautiful text editor that connects to Dropbox. So the reason why I wanted Notesy is that I kind of keep this personal, I don't know, if the fancy term would be kind of a personal knowledge base. I just keep this pile of text files in my Dropbox folder. I keep meeting notes and cheat sheets and, project lists and to-do lists. And Notesy lets me access all those files on the iPad. It connects to Dropbox, and it's just this beautiful editor, totally gets out of your way. It supports Markdown, it supports just plain text, and I love it. I love using it. It's one of the apps that I bought my iPad keyboard for. I have one of the Logitech Bluetooth keyboard because I love writing on it, and I love just looking stuff up really, really easily in it.
It's amazing to me that Leo and I haven't covered Notesy before, at least any more than just in passing, because it's awesome. I went ahead and downloaded it and hooked it up to Dropbox, and you're right. I mean, it's very, as far as making a note goes, it seems pretty simple. I created a little note. I called it Notes by Gina and Hello World, and I typed a few things. And I mean, no sooner had I said done, but it was saved to Dropbox. And I got a little notification on my computer, and sure enough, clear as day, it's easy to pull up in Dropbox, which I have running on my MacBook Air. Or, of course, I could access it pretty much anywhere. I could access Dropbox. But I love this. A lot of other note-taking apps will sync with Dropbox, but I've never seen it be quite this simple. I mean, it was simple. Yeah,
it's very robust, and it supports subfolders. You can have multiple folders. Some of them just sync with one particular folder, or you can only do certain kinds of text files. This app it's a really just beautiful text editor. Supports Markdown for Markdown nerds, and it does beautiful formatting, and it's just really nice and easy, and syncs very quickly.
So for you, $5 worth the money.
Absolutely.
So that's Notesy. Notesy-app.com is their website. And, of course, you can find Notesy, spelled Notesy, in the App Store. What is your second app of choice? I say this because this is one of my very favorite apps, too. So I want to see how you use it as well.
So my next choice is called Diptic. So here's the thing. I take tons of pictures, but I'm not a photographer, and I don't want to make all of my friends suffer through all 10 photos of the fabulous meal that I ate or this place that I went to visit. Diptic lets you make a collage out of your photos really simply, and it's beautiful on the iPad because it's got that big screen. So you take, 3 photos of, the beach or someplace, sunset, or, just your friends, and you choose a layout in Diptic, just like you're showing now, and you add photos to that layout. And it's kind of a boxy collage layout. And what's nice is that, if you want to check in someplace on Foodspotting or Foursquare, and say, hey, look at this fabulous meal that I had, you can, kind of say, here's all 4 courses in one place. Here's this great vacation I took. It makes, it lets you kind of take several pictures and just put them all up in one shot. And I found Diptic because I noticed that a bunch of my friends were checking in on Foursquare with these, fabulous collage photos of places that they had visited. And it's I asked my friends, how are you doing this? And they said Diptic, and I love it. I'm addicted to it now.
I mean, you saw how easily I just put together a little collage of some recent meals I've eaten. We've got a pie, a pizza, some coffee, and I don't know what I ate for breakfast that day. But I mean, this is as easy as it gets. And Gina, you're right. Before I ever realized how people put these together, I would see these little diptychs all over the place on Instagram or Path or just on Twitter or even Flickr. And I'd be like, that's so cool. It must be really hard. How did they put that together? It's probably this complicated Photoshop layer thing. And it's as easy as just pulling from Diptic, either from your photo album. You can pull from your Flickr photos.
Flickr and Facebook, yeah.
And Facebook too, depending on where most of your pictures are. And then once you export, you've got some options of where you want to save or send it. You've got a variety of social networks that are easy to hook up your account to. So I'm with you. I think this is great. I mean, it's very artsy looking, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. And even when, if I wanted to zoom in a little bit more on this mug and get that paprika out of that picture, show a little bit more of this delightful, oh God, what are these? I think they were lentils. I don't know why I took a picture of that. It looks really, really bad. But yeah, I mean, it's easy as pie. And then you can choose to go high res or normal depending on, your space issues or who you're sending it to.
Yep.
So I love Diptic. It is great.
Yeah, it makes you look a lot fancier than you actually are. At least makes me look a lot fancier than I actually am. It's like, oh, I've got, a dozen photos of this thing, and I can, come out with 2 or 3 really kind of visually interesting. I found myself looking at my friends' photos, the ones that were collages like this, just a lot more, because you want to, you can enjoy the photo a lot more. So really good for photographers like me who take a bunch of photos and just kind of want to say, here's this, here is today. One little collage. And
it's kind of, they've actually added some functionality since the app first came to iPad. You can see that it can be a square, or you can kind of pull into more of like a rectangle type thing. I don't know, maybe you've got like a bunch of panorama photos, and that would look really cool in this layout. And obviously you have a lot of different layouts to choose from, but they've made it a lot of fun. It's what, 99 cents? It's $1 for that.
99 cents. Totally worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Diptic, that is a good one. Good home screen app. All right, moving on now. What is your third home screen app, Gina? Home screen.
My third home screen. My third app is this is the one app that when I started using it on the iPad, I was just like, oh my God, this is why the iPad is so cool. This is the app that made me go out and buy a stylus, which I was sort of against. I was against buying a stylus and a keyboard, but I wound up giving into both. It's Mixel, which I'm sure you've covered. I'm pretty sure you did cover on iPad Today before.
Yeah, I think this was one of Leo's app caps in the past. He likes it more than I do, but I want to hear why you like it so much.
I like it because it made me feel creative and like a kid in a way that I haven't in years. I'm a software developer. Sometimes I write, but I haven't cut out magazines and made a collage in a really long time. And that's kind of the basic thing that you do with Mixel. You can search the web for images, you pick them out, you can crop them, and you can make collages. But that's one thing. I mean, Diptic makes collages. Mixel also makes collages, but what's cool about Mixel is that then other people can come along and remix your collage. So they click a button, they tap a button that says remix, and they can take all the images that you used in your collage and make a new one. So you create these remix threads where a bunch of different people have all taken similar sets of photos and images and made new ones. And I found, that it becomes like this conversation about the contents of the photos. It's really fun. And, like I said, I bought a stylus because I wanted to get, more accurate cuts on my crops. Because, you choose a picture and then you can crop out different bits of the picture and only use those in your thread. And I really love it. It made me feel kind of, creative, like I said, in a way that I haven't in a long time. And I really enjoyed watching other people's takes on the thing that I made. So yeah, you're doing it there.
Yeah, it's okay. I guess I haven't really played around with Mixel in a while. I'm actually kind of enjoying myself. I guess the first time when it first launched, I was like, okay, well, I feel like this is a lot like a variety of layers of kind of pop art and things like that. Mm-hmm. I got it. And then somebody puts together something that's Patrick Yan here put together. I guess this is a remix of somebody else's original photo. And it's kind of cool, and I mean, I don't know, am I going to make it that much better than his? But I see that as more people have signed up to Mixel, there's already a lot more sophistication, I guess, if you want to call it that, than there was maybe in the first couple of days. I guess some of these images can't get any bigger because I don't really know why. I haven't been remixed yet. Oh, okay, I understand.
Right, yeah, you're just looking at, if you tap remix, and you can start to do you go in an edit mode.
Got it. I see. Yeah, so this is there were 3 lips, so I could go ahead and duplicate the lip, Get a few more here. Yeah, all right. Get a quad lip thing going on. So yeah, okay.
Part of the fun is really figuring out how people create certain effects. Like once you start to get into it, you start to see mixels that are really cool and beautiful, and you're like, wait a second. How did this person do this with these bits? And so you say remix and you look at the bits that they use and you try to recreate it and you start to learn certain techniques. I got into Mixel. It was a weekend that, forgive me, in-laws, but my in-laws were in town and, the TVs were all sort of taken over by family and it was just kind of me and my iPad, curled up in the corner most nights. And I started really diving into it, just, entertaining myself. Love my in-laws, but, and it really, once I started to dive in, and, you can like other people's mixels. You can also love, and you have a number of loves that you can give to other people.
Oh, so you're not just liking everything. It kind of wants you to choose between stuff that you think, oh, cool, or something that you're like, wow, that was amazing.
Exactly. So when you get a love from someone, you're like, oh, like somebody used one of their 5 loves of the week to give it to me. It's a really big sense of accomplishment. So it's a community that I think needs some time to really dive into it and get into it to get the value out of it. To start to see oh, these are really cool artistic techniques, and I earned a love, and I even got featured. But once you get into it, I've absolutely loved it. And it's one of these things where when I'm I've had a long day and I just don't want to think about code anymore. I'm just completely. It's like, I want to play with pictures. I want to be a kid and make a collage. That's Mixel is what I reach for.
Well, there you go. That's a really good description of Mixel. I like it too. I don't know. I'm warming up to the whole idea. I do agree. This is the sort of thing where you don't have to take it seriously at all, but it's not a waste of time either. You can exercise your creative imagination, and it can be mindless if you're just trying to I don't want to look at code anymore, I just want to play around a little bit, or you can actually create something pretty cool. And I guess getting featured, getting a love from someone in the community, or getting a lot of remixes where you go, wow, my original photo has been remixed so many times, it looks really, really awesome.
Yes.
I mean, just going through some of the remixes of original photos here is like, there are some really creative people hanging out here.
Yeah, there really are. It's true.
Samantha Rudd Arts followed me on April 16th. Wonderful. Oh, I feel good. I have 5 loves left this week, so I have to take them very seriously. This is a really nice one. All right, that's Mixel, and Mixel is completely free. So if you want to get creative, you don't have to pay any money to do it. That is Mixel.cc is their website if you want to learn more about the company behind them. And finally, Gina, you mentioned that you are an app builder, and we don't, Leo and I can't say the same for ourselves. So tell me more about the kind of stuff that you create where the iPad comes in handy.
Well, I wrote Lifehacker, which is this productivity blog for years. I was kind of obsessed with to-do list apps, and I had tried, dozens of them over the years and reviewed them. And I finally just decided, as I was saying earlier with Notesy, is that I just want to store my to-dos in a plain text file. I want to keep it on my computer. I want to use it as my own simple format. So I wound up writing a little command line script that lets you add tasks and that kind of thing. And people started to say, hey, I want to get this on my smartphone. I want to be able to update my tasks in Dropbox on my smartphone easily. And so I made an Android app called Todo.txt Touch. And then a year, 9 months in, lots of people were saying, well, when are we going to get this for iOS? So that was the point at which I bought an iPhone, and I had the iPad at that point. So we ported the app to iOS. So the app I made is called Todo.txt Touch. It's just a simple text editor interface to your to-do list. So if you keep a to-do list in a text file called Todo.txt, you can add tasks, all the things you can imagine you can do with a task manager. And it syncs to Dropbox. So you're not hosting it on anybody's website or anything like that. It's not any kind of crazy format. It's just a plain text file. And you can find out more about that at TWiT.com. This is kind of a weekend project that I did. It's an open source app that I wrote with some folks. So I just wanted to get an idea of what it was like to develop for iOS and Android, and it's been kind of just a fun learning experience.
When you compare the two, what are the main differences? I think a lot of folks watch a show like iPad Today. We talk a lot about apps, but we don't talk too much about the people who are behind the apps that spend a lot of time making them. When you compare something like iOS to Android, and you said it was a weekend project, I mean, how much time do you devote to both of them? How are they different?
Well, developing for Android and developing for iOS are really different in really interesting ways. I mean, it's just a completely different mindset and community. You know, Android's kind of like that, you know, the open source ethic where there's lots of different handsets and devices, and I've got, you know, 16 different simulators to test in. Whereas iOS has this beautiful development suite, like Xcode is what you develop iOS apps in, and it's really nice. And there's, you know, there's two screens basically to develop for. You know, the small one, the iPhone, and the iPad. Well, and now you have the Retina display in there as well. So, and this is idea of submitting my app to Apple and waiting for approval. That was really foreign to me, you know, kind of coming from the Android side. But I really enjoyed both experiences. I mean, Apple has a very strong emphasis on design. So, you know, for someone who's not a designer, you know, I struggled with things, you know, silly things on the iOS side. Like, I need to get the radius and the rounded corners of my icon exactly right, or like they'll reject me, you know, which was not the case on Android. It was really interesting to see, just as an app developer. I mean, the app is $2. It's $1.99. It was interesting to see, you know, how many iOS users would be willing to buy this app versus how many Android users would be willing to buy it, because, you know, word on the street is that Android users don't buy apps. And so that was just kind of just an interesting experiment for me as an app developer as well. I really like to be conversant on all the different platforms that most people are using. And it was a great experience both ways. I have an open source community who works on the app, who did the most of the coding. So this isn't, you know, I didn't just like throw this together in a weekend on my own. I've got a lot of really great developers helping me out with it.
Well, that's Todo.txt Touch. So if anybody is interested in being more on top of the tasks that they have, I think we can all agree that it's good to be organized rather than disorganized. Definitely want to check that out. It's funny, too, because I find that Leo and I, it's a reoccurring theme on iPad Today, where we'll say, you know, we should do productivity apps, sort of a roundup of productivity apps, because there are always new ones coming out, and the ones that we've talked about are constantly getting updates. And I find that I always revert back to the simplest of all of them, because I can't teach myself to do much more than just make little notes on a simulated piece of paper. That's the way that I remember to do things. So I like stuff like this because it doesn't require me to learn new behaviors.
Yep, that's exactly what I found after years of reviewing to do apps. I mean, there is some really cool innovation, like Clear. There's a really kind of cool to-do list that has some neat just UI features that I think, you know, are really neat. You got to find the thing that works for you, absolutely. But yeah, simple is better, I found as well.
Well, those are some of the apps that Gina Trapani has on her home screen. Hopefully, some of them are new to you, so you can download them and have a good time and be like, I'm like the app developer. For all the links to all the apps that we just mentioned, don't worry if you didn't write them all down or if you don't remember how they're spelled. You can visit us at iPad Today on our website, twit.tv/IPT. That's where all of our past episodes live. Leo and I talked about, what did we talk about last week? Band of the Day. Yeah, that was Leo's app. See, we do so many of these shows that I forget what we did 7 days ago. But that's you can watch the show in its entirety. We've got the video right on the page. We have all of the links that we talked to in our show notes, and that's also where we have our subscription link. So if you want to subscribe to the show and get it downloaded automatically without having to remember when we shoot live, this is the place to do it. A reminder that we do shoot live on Thursdays, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. If you have app ideas of your own and you want to be involved with the live chat and all the good stuff, we'd love to have you joining us live. It's the best way to watch the show because you know that we're doing it right here, right now. But if you can't watch us live, you can always catch us on demand in a variety of ways and find us through iTunes as well. Okay, we've got some iPad-related iOS news, quite a bit of it actually. But before we get to that, I want to take a moment to thank Gotomeeting. Oh, yes, you love Gotomeeting. The deal with Gotomeeting, they have a great feature called HD Faces. And here's the deal. Gina and I are doing the show together. We're remote. It's fine. It's good and everything. But it would be very difficult for us to get together for a meeting. That's just not the way a lot of us do business together anymore. It would be expensive to travel. I'd have to go all the way to San Diego where the weather's all beautiful, and that would just suck. I don't want to do that. but it's hard to get everyone together for a meeting. Darn near impossible if it's like all of the TWiT hosts. We just don't do things like that. But Gotomeeting with HD Faces keeps that from being an issue. Your team can meet face-to-face while you're online, no matter where you are. It takes only seconds to set up. And with HD Faces, all you need is a webcam, and you can turn your online meetings into a group with HD video. This is Gotomeeting by Citrix. We love the people at Citrix. They're constantly coming up with new ways to make this sort of thing easier for us because they understand that in this modern world we live in, we are not just all sitting around a conference table anymore. That's just not the way it goes. You can participate on the go using a built-in camera once you've got your meeting started on your iPad. You can download the free Gotomeeting app to join, so it's not like you've got to be at some sort of a terminal in the hotel or anything. You have a lot of choice as far as how you want to connect to your colleagues or your friends, really. See how easy Gotomeeting with HD Faces is by trying it free for 30 days. Special offer. Visit gotomeeting.com. There's a big old try it free button. Go ahead and click that, and when they ask for the promo code, use the promo code iPad for free 30 days of Gotomeeting with HD Faces from our friends at Citrix. Thanks so much to Citrix and Gotomeeting for sponsoring this episode of iPad Today. All right, Gina, let's get into some kind of cool, there's a lot of cool developments that have been going on with iPad apps. Over the last week or so, Autodesk launched an iPad app called 123D Catch for iPad, which lets you turn pictures into 3D models. And, you know, when I initially read this article, before I ended up watching the video, and any of our audio listeners definitely want to check out this video because this isn't going to be a very, very wowing app to you otherwise until you can see it. But the idea is you take a picture of something, it can be kind of something mundane even, really, like a picture of flowers. I think that was down at the farmer's market in San Francisco. And this guy is now being able to create 3D images based on that initial photo he just took. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I had the same reaction. I read it and I thought, CAD, I don't do 3D objects. And then I watched the video and I was like, do want.
Yeah,
do
exactly.
Want now.
I think a lot of us feel, it's like, I don't have CAD training. Autodesk software feels like a little bit of a commitment for me because I just want to, play around a little bit. But when you see where you can start with something, I mean, it almost has a Mixel quality to it, right? It's like, let's start with that flower layer, and then we can go nuts.
Yep.
And
yeah, this looked really cool.
And of course, these renderings can end up being actual things. It's like you can scan, I guess, a flower and end up creating something with a 3D printer later on. And this is a completely free app too, so that's pretty amazing. I would have actually thought that Autodesk would be charging, I don't know, $10 or something like that.
Yeah, I would have expected that. It seems like a professional app that would cost a lot of money. Although, I don't know, if I get this, I may have to get myself a MakerBot or something so I can print out rockets with flowers coming out the back or whatever. Exactly.
We're always talking around the offices here. It's like, when is our 3D printer coming so we can just start printing ridiculous stuff? You know, we don't actually want to print the dishwasher replacement piece. Right. 3D printing is actually going to be really awesome for. We just want to print like crazy Legos.
Yeah, you want to print a mini bust of Leo.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. That's going to be the first 3D. The bust of Leo, and it'll go right behind us on the TNT set. Absolutely. So that's 123D Catch. It's in the App Store now. It's from Autodesk. 123dapp.com. It's completely free. So check that out, especially if you are into Autodesk products or just kind of 3D modeling in general. Also, some rumors from the iOS department. They never stop. The rumors of what's next for iOS, what the new iPhone is going to look like, what the new iPad is going to look like. They never, ever stop. But iOS particularly has reached a fever pitch because we're coming up against WWDC in June, and we expect that we'll get a lot of announcements about what the next iOS software version is going to be like. Gina, what do you think about these rumors that Apple is dropping Google Maps and going to debut their own in-house Maps technology based on some companies that they've acquired over the last couple of years?
I think it's great news. I mean, I think the entire internet owes Google a great debt for making maps that don't suck with Google Maps. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I'm really excited for there to be more competitors in the space. I'm excited to see Apple's take on what maps should be. I mean, it's kind of a bummer that Apple, is clearly moving toward divorcing itself from everything Google for competitive reasons, but at the same time, competition's a good thing. I mean, I think we're only gonna win here. I mean, they're saying there's gonna be this incredible 3D mode. I don't really know what that means. You're showing the video now. It looks pretty cool. But I'm like, hey, if Apple can do apps well or maps well, and I believe that they can, that's great.
So what we're looking at right now is a 3D virtual sort of flyover view of the Hoover Dam that's not actually real. So this is it's sort of a, gosh, how do I even describe it? It's a variety of graphics that are put together based on declassified missile target algorithms by a company called C3 Technologies, which Apple is reportedly going to incorporate into their new maps. Now, that's absolutely amazing. You look at this and you're like, what? Wow. How often are we really going to need something like this when we just need to find how to get down the peninsula and make my way to that startup's office? Well, probably not on a daily basis, but if it can work for a variety of, I guess, large, flyover of cities or something like the Hoover Dam, which is going to be visually very interesting when you're looking down on a 3D map of. Mm-hmm. I have to say, though, Google Maps is so much better than any other mapping software I've ever used, and I've been using it, relying on it for so long that I guess it's hard for me to imagine it being a lot better.
Right. I mean, I think the one thing that I really miss on iOS from Android is just navigation. Like forget the crazy 3D flyovers. Just give me turn-by-turn directions. Kind of built into the phone based on whatever maps work. Just kind of get me there. So it's true. Google Maps is really great, but we're seeing a shift to OpenStreetMaps, and it seems like companies are wanting to kind of try different maps, and I feel like the more data that we have and the more different views of it, the better. Although I would really just like to see navigation baked in. I don't know if there are any rumors about that.
I haven't heard anything. I would have to assume that's, if that's one of the complaints as an Android user is, hey, listen, maps work great on iOS, but gosh, navigation is really something that they're sorely lacking. Obviously, Apple knows this.
Yeah,
they've read enough articles, they've heard enough complaints about that sort of thing. And it behooves Apple not to have to rely on Google for their mapping technology. It's just a big undertaking. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come out with. I assume we'll hear about it. That's June, when does WWDC start? The 12th? The 11th through the 15th. So, it's what we've seen so far, as much as it's still somewhat speculative, somewhat rumor mill. Rumor mill is a term we use on TNT, so I'm just going to bring it on to iPad today now. It's still very exciting. It's exciting to see what they're going to come up with. And declassified missile target algorithms just sounds
that's awesome.
Really cool.
But let's hope it's as useful as it is kind of eye candy. Let's have both. I want both.
Yes, exactly. Apple is very good at having people go, wow, amazing. Siri comes to mind. Wow, cool. Is it really so great in practice? I would say no. It's not. It's still very beta. Our next story I threw in here because it always kills me when stories that are not really about the iPad become headlines about the iPad because it makes them more sensational and it means that people will pay more attention. Here's the headline. This is from late last week. The U.S. Postal Service to stop delivering iPads and Kindles to troops and overseas consumers on May 16th. What? Why? What's wrong with iPads and Kindles? It actually isn't about iPads and Kindles at all. It's about lithium-ion batteries and all sorts of electronics that have lithium-ion batteries inside them. The U.S. Postal Service doesn't want to ship overseas because there are explosion issues. And
like planes have blown up because of these batteries.
Correct.
I love that it became about we're not going to give iPads to overseas troops anymore. Like that's the story.
Yeah.
Whereas like these things are blowing up airplanes, or have been cited as causes in explosions.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's by the way, if you are living overseas or you know somebody who is, whether they're in the military or not, you can still ship an iPad or another lithium-ion device, FedEx or UPS, or there are other companies who, I guess their insurance is such that it's still going to be okay. The Postal Service just says, listen, we've had incidents, and we don't want anybody getting hurt, and that's just the way it goes. We can't figure out how to make this safe enough to make it worth it to us. It does cause you to wonder, okay, well, what is the UPS, what do they know that our Postal Service doesn't know? And maybe they could all get on the same page.
You would think that they would be all on the same page. I mean, on one hand, I was kind of like, well, way to go, USPS, for hastening your irrelevance. Like, these other people are going to be able to ship this and you can't. But if it's a safety issue, don't you think there'd be like a standards or regulations body that said this is okay or it's not, or here's the way that you have to handle these items in order for them to be safe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're right. I think there are regulations that companies have to abide by anytime they're shipping anything, really, but certainly electronics where there are any sorts of fire hazards. But in any case, if you are shipping lithium-ion batteried devices, something to keep in mind. It's not because they don't like iPads and Kindles. It's not because they don't want the troops to be watching us on the TwitPad app. Has nothing to do with that. It's just for safety. This is a great story, Gina, that you added, actually, for anybody who's a fan of those old Etch-a-Sketches.
Yes, the Etcher is a Kickstarter project which turns your iPad into an Etch-a-Sketch. And when I read this headline, my first thought was like, why would I ever do that? Like, why would I buy this $600 device? Like, why wouldn't I just buy the $10 Etch-a-Sketch?
Right.
But this is really cool. I mean, what the project is, it's an outer case for the iPad that let you slide your iPad into, and it adds the two white knobs on the bottom left and right of the iPad. And then you can draw, just like on the Etch-a-Sketch. You can shake the iPad to erase your drawing. And so that's cool. But what's really cool is that the app will let you save drawings that you made. It will let you create time-lapse videos of you doing the drawing and the Etch-a-Sketch. It lets you easily share or email the drawings, all the stuff that you could never do with your Etch-a-Sketch before. And I think it's kind of a neat project. Because it's got this kind of whimsical. I love the Etch-a-Sketch when I was a kid, and I don't know that I would carry around this case like as my regular iPad case, but I think it's just a neat idea.
I do too. I think if you're nostalgic for the old Etch-a-Sketch days, I had one too. You'd like it. But even, if you're a kid or you're a really good artist, or there's all sorts of reasons that people can spend hours using these. The one thing that I used to really bother me when I was younger with my Etch-a-Sketch was you make something and then you really have to shake it like pretty hard.
Yeah.
And, to actually get it back to zero where you don't see any faint lines anymore. And it's just like, it worked, but it was kind of cumbersome. So this is sort of the best of both worlds. You've got this Etch-a-Sketch that's also a touch screen that you can do a lot of cool things with. And when you shake it, it's just pixels that go away. So it's a much more precise science, even if you're not really all that good of a drawer.
And the transience of the Etch-a-Sketch used to really bug me as a kid. If I spent hours making a really cool design, I'd be like, nobody touch the Etch-a-Sketch. I was like, I can't let go of it yet. I either have to take a picture of it, right. And then it's just gone. It's like my lessons in Buddhism. It's like, no, I'm a nerd. Like, I want to be able to save these pictures. And the Etcher, this Kickstarter project, and they got licensing from the Etch-a-Sketch company to do this. They're going to let you save your Etch-a-Sketch drawings. I feel like I'll be able to realize a childhood dream of being able to archive my Etch-a-Sketch creations.
Well, and on top of that, especially, I know the feeling of like, do not shake this. You do not have any idea how long I spent on this? Well, you can say, and here's the video.
Right,
exactly what I
draw.
did. Yeah, to get that shading behind the ear of that panda that I just drew for you, Mom. This is cool. And by the way, I think the Kickstarter project, which has a ways to go to meet their limit, that they have just under a month left. I think the minimum donation is $45 to get this. I think you end up being in the first round of people to get the Etch-a-Sketch. So it's not not cheap. You gotta love the Etch-a-Sketch, I think, probably to do it. Exactly.
But these folks seem like they're serious. They seem like they actually might ship it. So I think it's probably a good bet if you're really into the idea.
I feel like we could make a whole show. It's like an iPad Today offshoot called like Kickstarter OS or something.
I bet you could.
There are so many cool iPad related, whether it's a case or something that makes your iPad look like a MacBook Air. We talked about that a few weeks ago, or something like the Etch-a-Sketch. It's like the perfect device that people just want to make cool stuff for, whether it's apps or otherwise. So we're talking about Kickstarter all the time these days. Love that. Etch-a-Sketch. Which is a Kickstarter project. You can look that up on Kickstarter right now. And if you love it, you should participate, and you'll get one if they meet their goal. You know how Kickstarter works. All right, we're going to get into some viewer feedback. A lot of questions for Gina this week. She didn't even know. You didn't even know you were asking her, but you were. But quickly, let's thank Ford for sponsoring this episode of, I was about to say the Social Hour. That's on Mondays. Thursdays is my iPad Today day. Ford is absolutely at the forefront of technology. There are full line of electric and hybrid electric vehicles that seriously have features that will blow your socks off. Two Ford electric vehicles are the 2012 Ford Focus Electric and the 2013 Ford Fusion Energy plug-in hybrid. Both of these models have some amazing driver information systems, and they're designed to be used when you're in the car and when you're off doing something else, because everybody's worry is an electric car, I have to worry so much about the charge, and I really have to be on top of that. I don't want to get stranded. What Ford will help you do, let's say you're just looking at how your Ford electric charge is doing from a distance. You're in the middle of a meeting, let's say. You can manage your recharge process. You can determine the most eco-friendly driving route. You want to save as much energy as possible. You can monitor your battery state of charge. You can maximize energy efficiency, combination of routes, the way you drive. There's a regenerative braking system within the car itself that can capture over 90% of energy that is normally lost just by driving. I'm a big commuter. I am always looking for the next great car that's going to save me money. I hate going to the gas pump. I have to do it once a week, and it costs me, $75. It's a colossal waste of money. And I love the idea of getting many, many miles on a single charge. And that's exactly what these cars do. For example, the Ford Focus Electric, 2012 model, 100% electric, gas-free. You don't go to the pump anymore. You don't need an oil change. Oil changes are really expensive too, and they're such a pain in the butt because I don't do it myself. Features a powerful state-of-the-art battery. It's rated the most fuel-efficient 5-passenger vehicle in the United States of America. Gets 110 miles per gallon electric. Kind of a new thing we now call it. It's the best city rating in its entire class, has a best-in-class driving range of 76 miles. This is like an award-winning car any way you slice it. Has the best-in-class 240-volt charge time. It can be fully charged in about 4 hours. Now think about that. I don't necessarily stay at work because I do a lot of work from home for a whole 9 to 5, 8 hours type of a thing, but in 4 hours, that's totally doable. That's something that I can actually incorporate into my daily routine and not feel like a car is changing my habits or that it's a hassle or it's hard to incorporate. So I threw a lot of stuff at you just now. Ford has done a really, really good job of laying it all out, very clear language, let you know what's coming up in their models, what you can get now, what you can look for on the horizon in Ford technology at Ford.com/technology. Really cool stuff. Ford is absolutely a trailblazer when it comes to the future of how we will be driving our cars. So learn more at Ford.com/technology, and we thank them so much for sponsoring this episode of iPad Today, this very, very special episode with my guest host, Gina Trapani. All right, Gina, are you ready for some viewer feedback?
Ready.
All right.
Ready.
Brian writes us, and he's sort of answering in response to my gripe last week that when I go through my Apple Mail app and I have a variety of Gmail accounts that are synced up to Mail and I want to do a search often when it looks on the server, it doesn't find emails that I know are there. So I prefer the Gmail app, even though I kind of like the look of the Apple Mail app. So Brian says, for people who like the base Apple apps and are looking for a better way to connect them to Google services, Google has an Exchange connection, works much better than IMAP that Apple has for their default option. So that's where I went wrong, as I thought IMAP was really my option. He says this works especially well since Apple has added the option of multiple Exchange accounts. So if you want to set it up under Mail, you go to your Mail contact settings. You want to add an account. So I'll go ahead and do that. And instead of Gmail, you go ahead and choose Exchange. You enter in the email that you want to associate it with. Domain stays blank. Your username is your Gmail account. Of course, your password is yours. You call it something. Once you enter all of that information, it'll give you a server, a place to enter your server information is just m.google.com. And then you're off and running, says Brian. He says you can sync Google Mail, contacts, calendars. You can search all your mail on the server through the Apple interface. So again, you can use the Apple interface as it was intended to work well. He also says it works really good for work environments that have, for whatever reason, blocked IMAP ports on their network. I don't ever run into that, but I guess that is an issue for some people who do have access to Exchange, but not to IMAP.
Right. Yeah, this is how I have things set up. When I first got my iPad, my first question was like, how do I use the Gmail app, but it was like, how do I get my calendar, on my iPad just using the built-in calendar app? And I think I found it on Lifehacker, but this Exchange setup is really good. So I sync both my mail and my calendar. I use the Gmail app, but sometimes mail will open if you if you tap on an email address, or it's just a default handler for dealing with email. So while I don't use mail, I just use the Gmail app. I sync it anyway. And this Exchange setup is definitely way better than the default Gmail account setup. It's a little confusing, because if you're setting this up for the first time, of course you want to tap Gmail if you've got a Gmail account, but Exchange is way better.
Exchange is better, and I agree with you. It's always been a little bit confusing to me. It's like anytime I have to set something up where I end up Googling set up Gmail on iPad, it's like, okay, well, it's already not clear. Even if I can find the answer relatively easy, it's probably going to be a Lifehacker article that I pull up and I go, oh, okay, that's fairly simple, but how would I have known this otherwise? But I think a lot of people, especially who have gotten iPads for the first time, maybe in the last couple of months, and you got the new iPad as a gift, you see something that says Microsoft Exchange and you go, okay, well, I don't use Hotmail or Microsoft. This is not a Microsoft anything, so that's not a situation that would apply to me. So it is kind of confusing.
It's not intuitive.
It's not intuitive.
But good tip, Brian, for sure.
Yes, agreed. Next email from Eric in Virginia. This is in response to last week. We had another Eric, actually, send in a video where he said, something's weird when I have an app on my iPhone and then I have the same app on my iPad, even if I haven't blown it up to 2x. It's bigger on my iPad. Is this some sort of an indication of what's coming down the pipe for maybe a larger iPhone and the next version of the iPhone? Eric in Virginia, different Eric, says the reason that investigative Eric was seeing the larger iPhone app on the iPad last week was only because the dots per inch, or DPI, is lower on the iPad than the iPhone. This means that all of those tiny little pixels are just a little bit farther apart. So in something that's 640 by 920 pixels, it's going to look a little bit bigger in actual size on the iPad. Not to say that Apple won't have a bigger display on the next iPhone, but iPhone apps on the iPad aren't really a sign one way or another of what's happening. Gina, what do you make of this, resizing and potentially breaking the process for app developers who have already designed apps that are supposed to work on both?
It sucks for developers when a new screen size is introduced, especially when you design your stuff to fit a finite set of screen sizes. But, I've been developing for Android for a long time, and a lot of developers have complained about how all the different Android screen sizes make it untenable. It's not that big a deal. And if you design your screens kind of relative, the way you would design a web page to adjust when you resize your window, it's like not that big a deal. Like, it'll be fine. When the iPad came out, when the Retina display came out, as a developer, you had to update your images for the better Retina display. Not that big a deal. I think it'll be fine. I'll be interested to see if this bigger iPhone actually does come to fruition.
With all of your experience with the Android interface, and obviously you've got Android devices, and a lot of us have been talking about this just around TWiT over the last couple of days of like, does Apple really care that there are so many successful Android mobile phones, mobile devices that are a little bit bigger, that are pushing the 4 to 4.5, and even in the case of the Galaxy Note, a larger than 5-inch device. My feeling is Apple will make a bigger phone if they can make the screen real estate look more awesome without people saying, oh, this iPhone is nice, but it's bigger and more clunky. I don't know that they care really what Android is doing and that they have to catch up just because they have the smaller phone of most of the popular models these days.
I agree. I don't think Apple cares. I don't think Apple's looking at what anybody else is doing. I think they've proven this, time and again. Apple does what they want to do because they've, decided that it's a good thing to do. I don't see them looking around at Android and thinking that they should try and get more of that market share. I think Apple truly believes that they know what the right thing is for their customer, and I think that they're looking at, it's like the choice is, either use Apple or not, is what Leo was saying the other day on Twig. So I don't think if they release a bigger iPhone, I don't think it's going to be because they felt pressured by what's going on in the Android world. But who knows what goes on at Apple behind those closed doors?
Oh, I know. We got our new iPad, but now there's talk of a new mini pad that could be coming out later this year. Then there's the new iPhone. Whenever that'll be released, it's probably going to be in the fall. And then we've got. It's just people love to do this. They love to try to guess what Apple's motivations are because they're so secretive, and in most cases we don't really know what's going on. So we try to figure out Apple's motivation. But I'm with you. I don't think Apple. I don't even really think that Apple thinks that the 3.5-inch screen on the iPhone is too small. I don't even think it's too small, especially since I use my iPad so often. The two are very different experiences. I don't need them to get closer together necessarily.
Right. Yep. It's true.
All right. We got a suggestion, actually, from Sam, who pointed us to an app called Bench Prep. Now, Bench Prep is kind of interesting because it is a way for you to digest educational materials, for lack of a better word, really, the kind of test that you might take. The GRE prep course, for example. Maybe you've got to take a test, a standardized test, to be a surgical technologist. Well, there's an exam that you're going to have to pass, and there are prep courses for these sorts of things. I mean, anybody who had to take SAT prep classes every Saturday, for a month before they took their SATs back in high school, remembers that there are these tests that are designed to help you prepare. Bench Prep is it's basically a suite of prep course apps, really. They're less apps. They're almost more, you'd almost think of them more as they'd live in the newsstand or iBooks, that allow you to take these tests and quiz yourself and that sort of thing using the iPad interface, rather than, I don't know, a booklet or even a class necessarily, which I love this. And I was going to download one and show everybody, like, look, here's me studying for trigonometry. They're not cheap. They're not the sorts of exams that you're going to download just for fun. The least expensive one that I found, which I think was an SAT study course, was like $99. And a lot of them are more in the $150 range. So this is certainly something that to be taken seriously. For example, the postal office exam. Like, do you want to be a mail person? You need to take this exam. This is the sort of thing that is it's a practice exam. It's not the exams themselves. These are prep courses. But if you are one of these people who may be studying for one of these extremely important tests, and you know that you have to either pay for the prep course, prep materials, a book, that sort of thing, this might be a great way to do it, just as the iPad is a great educational tool, something to have with you in class, something to study with.
Yeah, it sounds like cheaper than Kaplan, more expensive than the big fat book of SAT or GRE tests. This made me want to go back to school. I'll tell you, I'm so envious of students who have arrived at school and had an iPad and this kind of material. It seems like just a lot of fun. This also made me want to test my SAT vocabulary score.
Oh my gosh. Do you know that this was so embarrassing, but I went to a junior college my first year of college because when I was still in high school, I didn't want to get up early and take the SATs on the weekend. Yeah, real overachiever. I was a good student too. Like, what is my problem? That's awesome. I think maybe I was just afraid that my score would be bad, and I just couldn't deal with, the rejection that I might have felt because of that. I don't know. I have never taken the SATs, okay?
So you didn't want to get up to actually take the test. It wasn't about the prep course. It was like on test day, you were like, screw it, I'm not going to take it.
I'm not going to, come on. I just want to sleep in.
I just kind of love that. Going against the grain. Standardized tests stink. They're awful.
Right. You can't put a number on me. I'm so complex. Exactly. I agree with you, though, about all of the educational fun. I know when you're a student, none of this seems all that fun unless you're studying something that you really love. But if I still am weirded out by the idea that all the students have laptops on their desks in school. Because, I don't know, I guess I spent so much time having to write everything out longhand with either blue or black ink, and it's like, that's just the way you did it, and sometimes we'd have to do that because not everybody had a typewriter at home. They wanted it all to be fair. So to me, it's like, it's the Jetsons as far as school goes.
It's true.
What fun to have the iPad and all the things that you can download to learn more, and just... Anyway, I'm dating myself.
I was going to say, we're officially old people. It was like, back when we were kids, we wrote longhand ballpoint pen.
And they wouldn't let us use purple ink and dot our I's with big
hearts.
with O's and hearts.
Stars.
Yeah, that was a big D. We got a duh tip. Gina, if you're not familiar with the duh tip, it's a collaborative effort for all of us to help each other out with the little things. The exchange mail option could almost have been a duh tip. It's the obvious stuff that for whatever reason, we just didn't realize. It's a duh tip. So Corey's got one. He says, hi guys, you know those little cards you get with free songs and books that Starbucks has at their counters, and they give them out at concerts sometimes, and they'll have a code where you can get a free app or something. But the codes on the back are always ridiculous. They're these long strings. You have to enter them into the iTunes store manually. So to redeem them, I just use the dictation feature on either the iPhone 4S or the new iPad, and then I just read them to redeem the code pop-up. I love this idea.
Yeah, smart.
Very smart.
I like it.
These are the sorts of things that I wouldn't think of to use for dictation, but I know. I mean, this even comes in handy if you're going to be entering like a credit card number or something. Where you're going 1, 2. Oh gosh, no. Where am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm 5 in. Okay, 5, 6, 7. That sort of thing. So yes, if you have some sort of a long string of code from Starbucks where you can get a free app, or just sort of a long string of anything, then this is a really good way to do it if you have the new iPad, of course. So thank you to Corey for that very good duh tip. All right, we want to get to our app caps. Gina has very graciously agreed to play along. But before we do that, we want to quickly thank Slingbox for sponsoring this episode of iPad Today. Now, if Leo was here, and anybody who watches the show regularly would know this, this is the part of the show where he stops listening to me and he starts watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey. And I say, Leo, that's extremely rude. Please listen to me. We're still in the middle of viewer feedback. And he goes, I can't help it. I have access to my home television, my home cable box, my home everything, because I have a Slingbox hooked up. And then I say, what? How does it work? And he tells everybody. Slingbox is the way to turn your iPad into a television, but not just any television. It's not just a way to access television material. It's a way to access your home system, your own DVR, the stuff that you've saved up for 3 weeks. Your 4 episodes of Glee. Gina, you like Glee, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your 4 episodes of Glee, and you're like, I can't wait to watch these back to back, but darn it, I'm not at home. I'm stuck in this hotel room because I had to take a last-minute trip, or I had to go visit my in-laws, or I had to go to the stupid baseball game, or any other stupid reason that you might not be comfortable on your own couch. You can access everything. What you do with your Slingbox is, by the way, you can even control and watch your DVR. So, talk about simulating your home experience. It is amazing. And it's a one-time fee. You don't have to pay extra for special services. Once you get your Slingbox, you're good to go. And you're not limited to certain channels either. It's not like some blackout nonsense, where you don't understand why you can't watch that show since you're out of town. It works just like your TV, and it works on your iPad, any smartphone, iPod Touch, laptop, tablet. iPad is great, but you're not limited to just a tablet. What you do is you purchase a Slingbox, and then you connect it to the internet, and then you connect it to your home TV. You basically just plug it into the system that you already have. And then from anywhere, you can get an internet signal. Anywhere you can be online, you can watch that home TV. If you want to learn more about it, Slingbox is available both at Best Buy. If you've got a Best Buy in your area, you can walk into, take a look at this. Also at Amazon, some other vendors as well. And you can learn more at slingbox.com. I mean, this is incredible. I've always thought that Slingbox is pretty much like magic because I can take my home system with me. If only I could figure out a way to bundle up my new speaker system, I'd really be in business. But this is absolutely the best way to not miss anything. If you're a TV person, got to get a Slingbox. It's just that simple, and we thank them so much for sponsoring this episode of iPad Today. Again, slingbox.com, and learn more. All right, Gina, it is time for the App Cap Award.
I got my cap on.
Where's my cap? Here's mine. All right. Oh, thanks, Burke. Burke decided to...
Oh,
I'm kind of a
nice.
A thespian today. Yeah. See, you look just like cool and sporty and collegiate.
No, but you have horns, so
That's true. And little bells too. If you don't hear
and
that,
bells.
yeah,
it's awesome.
It's pretty cool. So, all right, we'll start with mine, and then we'll finish off with the Gina's app. Mine is not a new app. This app is Foodspotting, which you have probably heard of because Foodspotting has been around for a while. In fact, they were one of the first apps that took advantage of this annoying tendency that we all have to take pictures of our food. Now, what's nice about Foodspotting is they've sort of weathered the test of time. An app, Oink, for example, is a good example of an app that was great, and it was a rating your experience, I think was their tagline. But a lot of people used it for food. And what was nice about Oink, that I always really liked about Oink, was it would allow you to kind of become an expert in something. So, like me, I eat burritos constantly. So I could sort of earn cred on something like burritos, and I would be able to rate something, and more people would want to pay attention to my rating because I've been designated an expert, sort of thing. Well, Foodspotting came before Oink, and it's still here, and it's actually gotten better. One of the things about Foodspotting that used to sort of frustrate me was you'd fire it up. And the whole idea behind, it's not so much that I just want to look at pictures of food. It's like, I want to know what's good. I want to know what's good near me. And, if I'm at a restaurant, I want to know what their killer dish is if I don't already know that information. And I found that there were a lot of people who loved the burger at Zuni Cafe, for example. It's a cafe that's somewhat near where I live in town, and everybody loves it. So you can get some information on this and see who had cited it, who had spotted it. But you can also, let's say that I'm not at Zuni Cafe. I just want to know what's nearby me that's going to be awesome for the kind of the next meal I want to have. Hallie's Diner. So it's geolocated me because I told it that I wanted it to. Hallie's Diner is right across from the TWiT studios. It's awesome. It's like this really good greasy spoon. Huevos Rancheros, which I have had, by the way, at Hallie's, and I know that they're good. But let's say I hadn't. I could say, yeah, I want that. That's awesome. Or I could say that I've tried it and that I've loved it. You get the idea. These are things that are geolocated nearby. There are also guides. Guides are really a cool part of Foodspotting. And in a way, they sort of work like Foursquare that has guide functionality as well. 8 Great Plates in San Francisco. It's made by Chase Sapphire, or 7x7 Magazine's Big Eat 2000 Scavenger Hunt. I'm getting pair notifications from MG. That's just the beauty of live television. The Path to Ramen Enlightenment. Oh, I love that. I love ramen. So it's some of the best place to get shoyu broth in the city, for example, which is actually my favorite kind of ramen. There are also guides that I'm following versus people that I'm following. Just if I want to look through places, hey, what is nearby me? Let's look on a map view versus a list view. apps in my area. So Velasco's north of the border. That's really good Mexican. Taps is a cool, bar type of thing. All of this is completely free. And what I like about Foodspotting is they've made the app more relevant for all of us. So it's a place where I can end up making a reservation through the app. I can get kicked over to Yelp to read user reviews. All of that stuff, that aggregate information is more interesting to me than just, someone liked these eggs at this diner, so maybe you should try it out. The context is actually really important to me. They also have specials, which is part of the way that Foodspotting as a company makes money. They have deals with other companies that help you drive sales to restaurants and that sort of thing, which means that the app is totally free for us, which is great. By the way, you might have noticed I was looking at this in portrait mode. That is an iPhone app. It is not a universal app, and it's not an iPad app, but the pictures, as long as they're pretty good res to begin with, look just fine on an iPad, works really well. Only thing it won't give you is landscape mode. So that's Foodspotting. Foodspotting.com is their website, totally free. And if you want to be that person who wants to be obsessed with food, some of us are just those people, it is a must-have. All right, Gina, it is your turn for your App Cap Award.
My App Cap Award is much less sexy and involves much fewer pictures of beautiful things you want to eat, but it's very utilitarian, and it's something that it's kind of a productivity app. It's called LastPass Wallet, and I think it just got announced today. So LastPass is this password manager that lets you store your passwords, and it's just, got browser plugins. So when you log in, you have to remember your passwords, and Leo and Steve Gibson kind of gave it their stamp of approval, so I know that it's secure and great. LastPass Wallet is a new app that just came out. It takes advantage of LastPass has this secure notes database, right? So you can leave notes like PIN numbers or credit card numbers, and you can save them in LastPass, and they're transmitted securely, and you can get to them whenever you want. LastPass Wallet, the idea behind it is that you back up securely the stuff that's in your wallet. So your ID cards, your driver's license number, your credit card number. So that if you lose your wallet, you know what's in it and who you have to call in order to recover the cards. If you need to look up a credit card number, you can do so securely. And it all hooks into your LastPass subscription. The LastPass is a subscription service. I think it's like $1 a month. Totally worth it. $12 a year. Like I said, totally secure, approved by Leo and Steve. And I keep all my passwords in it. And now I think I'm going to use this LastPass Wallet just to store my, even if it's just your loyalty card to Target or Ralph's or whatever, you can have all that stuff on your phone. So if you lose your wallet, if you didn't bring it with you, you know that you've got kind of a secure backup there. And if you lose your phone, obviously you're locked out. You have to enter in your one LastPass password in order to get the information. And if you lose your phone, or if you think someone ever got access to your LastPass account, you can change that one password and everything is locked down.
Oh, I love this. This actually would have really come in handy. I had misplaced, this happens more often than I'd like to admit, my ATM card. And I needed the number for a variety of things. I mean, besides having to go into a bank and get out cash, which is, I could still do that, with my ID. There was information that I just, I don't have committed to memory. I didn't have it written down anywhere because I don't feel comfortable writing that stuff down anywhere because I feel like, ooh, it's got to be really secure. It's just not a good idea. Just don't do it. And that's why LastPass is such a good solution for, for secure passwords, not using the same password everywhere, which is something that people do, I think, just because it's so inconvenient to feel like you're juggling them otherwise. This it kind of has, it almost has like a square card case feel to it. I think that's sort of a trend now, is that virtual wallet that has all this information that you need that's safe.
Yeah, the LastPass apps, the LastPass Password Manager app, and even this app, they're not the prettiest, sexiest apps you're going to have on your phone or your iPad, but really, really useful for this kind of thing. Help you, just keep track of that stuff. That's important information that you're not going to remember.
I don't think you want a sexy app when it comes to passwords.
Yeah,
I think it's like you sort of be like, what are these guys doing anyway? I mean, I want something that's boring.
Yes, right. You want something that's extremely boring, extremely secure. Yeah. Right, exactly. I don't want them worrying about swiping pretty pictures. I just want them to worry about keeping my stuff safe. And this is a very serious, secure app, which I like.
Well, this is great. It's brand new, LastPass Wallet. You can find more at LastPass.com. And as Gina said, the subscription is very reasonable, $1 per month, $12 a year. If you are concerned with the safety of your most precious items and numbers in your wallet, this seems like a no-brainer. All right, Gina. Well, believe it or not, we've come to the end of our hour. That is it for this edition of iPad Today. Thank you so much to Gina Trapani for filling in for Leo today and being such an awesome guest host. Tell people what you're up to, where they can find you online, and what's new in the world of Gina.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was an absolute pleasure. It's nice to be able to profess all my love for the iPad, which I don't really get to do too much on This Week in Google. I co-host This Week in Google with Jeff Jarvis and Leo on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and I blog at my site, smarterware.org, and you can follow me on Twitter. It's just my full name, Gina Trapani, and I'm also on Google+, plus Gina Trapani.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
All right. Lots of places to find Gina. Gina is, she's humble, but she's pretty amazing. She's a pretty big deal. Let's just put it that way. But until next week, when Leo will be back. By the way, next week is episode 99, so you know what comes after that. We are almost at 100 episodes, which is absolutely insane. For some reason, it just, in one hand, I feel like I've always done iPad a day. On another hand, I think 100 episodes, how could it be? We're almost there. We're 2 weeks away. So thank you to everybody who watches the show every week. We love you. We couldn't do it without you. We will see you next week. But for now, remember, you can subscribe to the show a million different ways. Go to twit.tv/IPT to find us on the web. Never miss a show again, because we're just awesome. I'm Sarah Lane for Gina Trapani. That's it, folks. Ow!
Ow! Sorry.